tiny little room.
Oh my
And
God, you're in so much trouble.
I got so yelled at. I had to sign all this paperwork. They threatened to kick us off in Honduras, which is the next port we were going to. Like it was so bad. I got it so. My brother was like sending Snapchats to all our friends back home.
Oh my God, Steve.
Yeah. Long story short, I made friends with the entire security team there and learned an important lesson about not leaving things in rooms that look like bombs. Hello and welcome to the Open Hardware Manufacturing Podcast, the podcast where we talk about open source hardware. My name is Stephen Hawes.
And I'm Thea Flowers.
In this episode, we are talking about media that has been influential to us in some way as engineers, or I've kind of snuck entrepreneurship in there a little bit as well.
You snuck entrepreneurship in there a lot of bit.
Aggressively, yeah. Because that's a lot of the media that has like impacted me. Like engineering-wise, it's been less so.
That's okay though, because I'm here to balance things out with engineering and weird. So.
Yes. Also, I don't think, folks, you haven't been on since you started at Opula. We've talked about it, but you are now a full-time employee here. Yeah,
I've been promoted from podcast guest to employee to temporary podcast host until Lucian figures out that I've stolen his spot and takes it back.
Stolen the spot, yeah.
So let's hurry up and record this before they find out.
Okay, let's do it. All right, today's episode topic comes from Yasik from Discord, and Yasik was asking about books, creators, movies, documentaries, and other things that have shaped us as engineers, entrepreneurs, and like brought us to the place that we are, engineering-wise, I think. And I'm kind of squeaking in entrepreneurship a little bit because as we were listing out some topics, I had a lot more stuff for like company things than I did for engineering. But what's your balance, Thea? Like, how do you have? Because you also have had dips in entrepreneurship aggressively.
I have like one or two for entrepreneurship, but yeah, I mostly kept it more focused on engineering. But like, there's a good one that's like entrepreneurship and engineering that I think you'll like. I definitely went a little bit heavier on the engineering influences.
So you followed the prompt and I didn't.
Maybe. We'll see. Don't count on it.
Okay, fair enough. Cool. So I think we will start with like the beefiest boys. Like what
first.
Oh, sure.
Steven,
Yes.
What flavor of engineer are you, man? Like what's your thing?
Well, and this is helpful to know for like why certain things, put me where I am, but I think of myself as like, I think of engineering kind of having, very roughly speaking, so please forgive the wide brush here, but like 3 broad categories of like mechanical, electrical, software. Like the body of the thing, the brain of the thing, and the personality of the thing is like roughly how I view stuff. Obviously, there's a ton of messiness. There's a ton of other it's a rough category, but so I think of myself as being fine at all 3, but not excellent at any of them. Which I like, because it tees me up really well for prototyping stuff. I can bust out a prototype pretty quick, but other people and advice from others, which is why the open source thing works so well, is what really gets it to more of a finished place. So that's kind of how I view my own engineering spread, is like, I'm a sampler. I'm a buffet, I'm like, I'm not going to be the expert for anything, but like for kind of the integration stuff, that's more of my jam,
Okay, cool. Yeah. So more of a generalist.
I'm more of a generalist. Well, and that leads wonderfully to Thea. What kind of engineer are you?
Yeah, so I've been writing software most of my life, which is impressive considering I'm 3,000 years old. So I'm very much a software engineer. Yeah. I am kind of an electrical engineer, but that's been a more recent addition, right? Like that's something I started the last decade. And, I've made some electronics, some synthesizers and things, but by no means do I consider myself like an accomplished electrical engineer, right?
No, not right. I disagree with that vehemently, but continue.
I've made some decent circuit boards.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not much of a mechanical engineer at all, right? Like I know enough to understand it, and I know enough to make my way around CAD and put together a 3D print of something I need to make. But other than that, like I'm not much of a mechanical engineer.
Sure.
So yeah, so like a lot of my stuff will skew very heavily software with some insight into do hardware and mechanical engineering stuff.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Yeah. As we're talking about this, I'm like, oh man, are the things that I wrote down like completely like in the different stratosphere of like category of media asset as what you might have chosen? Because you have not shared with me what you have set aside for these things.
I am going to make this as difficult as possible for you. I need you to understand that.
Breaking our fast of recording episodes with hard mode.
Yeah, exactly. This is what you get for going on hiatus.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, fair enough.
So let's jump in with the big thing. That like, what is the most influential, either media or experience that you could think of as an engineer?
I think like, so I liked having projects is what I called them as a kid, like in elementary school or whatever. And sometimes it was like origami or like, I'd played around a lot with like things on Instructables. But the first thing that like truly rocked my world was I saw a YouTube video of a guy, his name was Everett Bradford, and he made a flamethrower that would shoot fire out of his palm, and he called it the Prometheus device. And it was sick. It was so cool. He like,
that sounds so awesome.
It was dangerous. Great. Yeah, it was killer. And he made his own like formulation of gas that he thought was ideal. And he wrote firmware on this little PIC microcontroller, and he machined parts for it and tried all these different methods of gas control and valves and all this. And like, it was truly a multidisciplinary. He had electronics, he wrote firmware, he had the mechanical aspect of it. It was even like pneumatic gas control stuff. It was like the whole spread.
Wow.
It was cool. It was really awesome.
Wild.
And so I was like, okay, I want to do that. So since I was in like middle school, I have been playing around with making wrist-mounted flamethrowers. And have I not told you this before?
No.
Really?
No.
How have I never
told? This is new to me. I didn't know you were running around with flamethrowers.
Yeah. Wow. Holy smokes. Yeah. This was like my first thing. And I made some, like there was this whole backpack that had a whole propane tank attached to it, and it had a taser built in for automatic ignition, and like 1 out of every 5 times it would tase me instead of lighting the gas because I had some short somewhere and it would just zap through. It was not fun. But yeah, so that was a really early one where I was like, oh, I can make this. And it started out just like I bought a wrist guard at Walmart and like took some old soda cans and cut them up and got a little propane or like butane canister and just tried to make a little crappy little thing that when I pulled my wrist back, some gas would come out, like starting very, very early on. And then it got to, I made custom circuit boards and I have, a firmware running on the whole thing in different modes. And like, it was the whole arc. So that's kind of the biggest underpinning one. Really sadly, Hackaday wrote an article about one of the flamethrowers, and Everett Bradford commented on it and was like, this is a ripoff of my thing.
No.
Yeah,
no.
I was so heartbroken. And I think I responded to him like, dude, this is, I mentioned you in one of these videos. Like, you were an inspiration to me. Like, he was just a weenie about it. It was so sad.
No. You're like, dude, you inspired me.
Yeah, I think maybe he just didn't know or something. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he built a really cool thing. And it did totally kick me off of like I could build. One dude can do adult multidisciplinary thing. Like, you don't need a whole engineering team to do it. So that was probably one of my bigger early ones.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool.
Mine is much less
dangerous.
Pyrotechnic.
Okay.
Mine was a lot less fire.
Okay.
Not no fire, but a lot less.
Sure.
It's so hard for me to pick because like video games were such a huge impact on me as an engineer, because that's what like really sort of inspired me into engineering. But in terms of like the thing that I like did or interacted with or like learned from that really like just like was like the canon event that like set my life into a certain direction is that a mentor of mine gave me a Knoppix live CD. So Knoppix is a Linux distribution.
Nice.
Yeah. I
thought it was music. I thought it was like a CD.
No. I'm going to start out relatively normal, then get weird. I promise.
A Linux distro. Yeah. Very normal.
Yeah. So like you get, like I was always a nerdy kid, right? But like you give a nerdy kid a Linux live CD and shit hits the fan, basically. Like, so Knoppix was really cool because it was a live CD. So you just put it in and it boots up.
Yeah.
And like you didn't have to install anything. And so you could mess around and you could make all the mistakes that you would ever want to make.
Sure.
And it's fine because you could just start fresh by turning off your computer and turning it back on.
Yeah.
that gave me so much to play around with.
Yeah.
Because like at that age, I didn't have fast internet or reliable internet. I had dial-up and I was only able to use it sometimes.
Yeah.
And so like having like a live CD that had like everything, like it had the manuals on there, it had like compilers, everything. Like it was so cool because it's just like when I got bored of one thing, I could just go look at something else. And like I spent hours and hours and hours just like messing with everything that I could.
How old were you when this was happening?
Oh man, I was like 12.
Are you kidding me, Thea?
Yeah, I was like 12.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
12 and bored out of my mind and just engrossed in Linux.
Yeah.
It was wild. And like, I think a lot about how much that one 650 megabyte CD like changed the course of my life.
Sure. Yeah. It reminds me of that XKCD where they're like, it's a bar graph and the first column is like 400 hours of homework and the bar is very short, 300 hours of classwork, bar is very short, and then 1 weekend messing around with Perl and the bar is really tall and it's like, how much did this influence my career?
It's exactly that. Because I'd always wanted to make games, but like playing around with Linux was like the first time I was like, oh wait, like I could build these things, right? Like that's possible. Because like finding out that like all of it was open source was just like mind blowing.
Yeah. You could poke into it. You can see how it all works under the hood.
Yeah. It's truly a wild experience.
Yeah. Having it shown that like, oh yeah, you can just another person is the only difference between me making it and someone else making it. It's like if they did, so can I. Being shown that it's possible to do it, I think is half the battle.
Yeah. And that's like also like just something that like I guess is like something I try to keep in mind as an engineer, because like there's always the trouble as you get more senior in engineering, more experience, that you quickly decide that's not possible or we shouldn't do that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like kind of trying to keep in mind like even if something wasn't possible from my experience, things might have changed. And a different perspective might make it possible. So like, yeah.
Super cool. So those seems like those are the ones that like kicked us off. Those are the big boys.
Yeah.
There was a book. This is also in line with engineering I'm going to try and kill that stuff first before I dive into all my entrepreneurship crap. But I got a book on, it was like it was Charles Platt, Make Electronics, like 3rd edition.
That's a good book.
It's an incredible book. It is an exceptional book. And it starts from real simple basics and it builds up and he shows you all with like digital logic, how to work through stuff. And I had just graduated high school and I was about to go to college and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to weld in college. I'm not going to be able to like, build stuff out of steel. Like I'm going to need to learn to make stuff that is small that I can do in a dorm. So I was like, I'm going to learn electronics. So I got this book. And so when I graduated high school, my mom was like, oh, I want to take my boys on a cruise before my boys go off to school or whatever. When like after I graduated high school, so she saved up and took me and my brother on.
Is that what your mom sounds like?
That's what she sounds like to me. I love my mom dearly, but that's how I represent the fact that my mom is. My mom's great. I love my mom, but that's how she talks to me.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom. But so she saved up and she took me and my brother on this cruise. Cruises have this thing where like they have a power budget for each room. So what they do is when you get on it, and I noticed at the time, when they get on, you are not allowed to bring a power strip and there was only one electrical outlet. You can plug two things in at once. And me, my brother, and my mom all had phones and we wanted to talk to people, like text people back on mainland. And I got the short end of the stick and I couldn't charge my phone. So I found in the room, there was a lamp sconce on the wall. And the panel was a little loose on it. So like I popped it off and there was just 2 spade connectors on the switch. So I like tapped them and it sparked like 110. Like it looked like it was going. So I was like, oh man, I could like charge my phone with this. But the spade connectors were not like the right size. So I asked my brother, I'm like, can you give me a stick of gum? So he gives me a stick of gum, and it's the kind of gum that has the foil wrapper. So I ripped the wrapper in half. I'm chewing the gum. I turn them into 2 little wires, and after the gum had been chewed, I broke it into 4 pieces and used it to stick one end of the 2 wires to my phone charger plugs, and then one end to the 2 spade connectors. And sure enough, my phone starts charging through the gum wrapper from this lamp sconce in the wall. So I'm like, great. And I'm just dipping my. I brought this.
Just love being a fire hazard. Like,
yeah, true. Oh, yeah, it gets actually quite a bit worse. So I'm reading on this cruise. I'm reading this book, the electronics book, the Make third edition Make Electronics. So I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. So here's the worst part. I leave it plugged in when we go to dinner.
Oh no.
And
they're gonna find it.
They go into your room to turn down your room, put a cute little chocolate on your pillow when you go to dinner. So
yeah, and make sure you're not gonna cause any fire.
And make sure you're not rewiring lamps. So we're coming back from dinner, we're walking down the hallway, and I can see there's a huge crowd of people down the hall. And I'm watching as we're walking down the hall, I'm watching the numbers count down. I'm like, wow, it's almost like by the time we get to our room number, that crowd will be like right at our door. And then I realized it was such a thing. The head of security for the ship and probably 15 security guards were in and around the room. It was a super tiny little room.
Oh my God, you're in so much trouble.
I got so yelled at. I had to sign all this paperwork. They threatened to kick us off in Honduras, which is the next port we were going to. Like it was so bad. I got it so. My brother was like sending Snapchats to all our friends back home of me getting yelled at by the security guards. It's so funny. So,
oh my God, Stephen.
Yeah. Long story short, I made friends with the entire security team there and learned an important lesson about not leaving things in rooms that look like bombs. But that was also part of it. It's like I wanted to mess around. I was like, I think I can figure this out, and I got it to work. I charged my phone. I got like through that tiny little foil wrapper, I got another 5% charge for my phone. It's like that was a win, and like that was cool to me, even though I was really stupid.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I never got caught.
That's the difference. We both broke rules aggressively. I'm just too much of a dumbass to hide it well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, they still haven't caught me. So.
Yeah, sure. Oh man.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. So yeah, that book was really influential for me electronics wise. It made it feel very accessible. And we'll put links to everything we talk about in this episode. We'll put links to the movies or books or whatever it is that we talk about, so y'all can take a peek at them if you want.
I'll share a book because you shared a book.
Okay.
And this one's really good. So this one is a very popular book. So I'm sure lots of our listeners have heard of it. But it's Code: The Hidden Language of Computer Hardware and Software by Charles Petzolly. And it's so good. It really like talks about like the history of computing, like how computers really just came to be. But it covers things like how we went from vacuum tubes and relays to computers. And so like from a hardware perspective, there's a lot that you can learn there, and like learn how like hardware eventually became software. And from a software perspective, you get a lot of understanding as to what's going on underneath the covers, because there's so much.
Right.
And like it was something that I read earlier in my career, and like it gave me perspective. Yeah. And I think that like that is a really useful thing to have as an engineer, to understand like as a software engineer for most of my career, like I never thought much about the hardware. And it wasn't until like reading something like that or doing game development and things like that on actual consoles where like I was like, oh, the hardware is important.
Yeah, you have to know actually what's going on under the hood. The abstraction only works so well.
Abstraction only works so well. And every abstraction is leaky.
Yep.
So yeah, like reading something like that, especially if you don't quite understand where hardware and software meet, is like a great little book to read.
Interesting.
And it's very enjoyable. It's very entertaining. It's not that dry.
Okay.
A lot of engineering books tend to be very dry. This one's written from a more entertaining perspective.
Good. Okay, cool. I have not read that book, but it like the things that did that for me, like did that book give you kind of like the layers of abstraction? It like walked you through from like the transistor to like a Python script, like kind of understanding what that whole stack looks like?
But not in a direct way, right?
Okay.
And like it did it through a historical lens, right? Where like we started with like why computers even became a thing, and it was because of telephones and trying to calculate missile trajectories, right?
Yeah.
Like, and like you understand like the engineers of the day were trying to solve a specific problem. They weren't trying to build a general purpose computing device, right? When we first started, it really kind of builds up like how we got to the computer from these engineered solutions to these various problems that we had as a society.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really interesting. And like towards the later end of the book, you start understanding more of like where that layer of like, oh, okay, now we have, you know, processor, memory, operating system, like where that even comes from, like where those things originated, which is really interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay. I 100% need to read this book because I got this in a much lighter way from SciShow, one of the Hank Green projects.
Oh, I love Hank Green.
I love Hank Green too. He's a gem. And they did I think it was SciShow. I don't know. I'll look it up. I'm probably wrong about that, but we'll put a link in the description for it. But it's like it's effectively a series walking you through from the very base level all the way up. It's a great series. And then I'm sure many folks know Ben Eater on YouTube.
Oh God, Ben Eater is fantastic.
Like his series about building an 8-bit computer from scratch in a breadboard. It is the most direct, literal, and comprehensive understanding of how software connects to hardware and what an instruction set architecture is. And like I think that series has given me the best understanding of how a computer works out of anything. Like it's incredible.
It's so well done.
Yeah.
It's so well done. I love it.
He's a gem. It's like, I love that series so much. So those were big for me getting that of like, what's it called? The layers of abstraction, like the something model, like what is it?
The OSI model?
Yes. Is that what I'm thinking of?
I think maybe it's the 7-layer thing, right?
Yeah. The Mexican dip or the 7-layer dip.
The 7-layer dip.
Yeah. OSI model conceptual framework breaks down network communication. Yeah, network communication. Okay.
Yeah, that's for network communication. Yeah.
Okay, so not that, but you get my point. It's like all the layers.
It's a useful thing to think of, though. Yeah. I mean, we have all these metaphors for trying to understand what things are and how they fit together.
Yeah. I kind of think like physics is just applied math and biology is just applied physics. And like, you know, it's like they're all just kind of layers of like taking that one layer and kind of building it on top of something else, you know?
Yeah. And electronics is hoodwinking electricity into doing things.
Yeah. Tricking a rock into thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, okay. So entrepreneur wise.
Yes.
And somewhat engineering wise.
Okay.
One book that I really enjoyed reading was Shit Happens.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Shit Happened by Jason Stoddard and Mike Moffat. So these are the guys behind Shit Audio. That's SCHIIT. It's a proud Nordic name, but it is a made in America audio, like hi-fi company. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they build everything they can in the US. Their circuit boards are made in the US. Their aluminum enclosures are made down the road from them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's incredible. And the book goes into their whole journey of how that happened, right? It's like they both had lives before Shit Audio. They were both engineers and audio engineers before. But the process of starting a company, like he talks through like starting in his garage with his partner hand placing through whole components on their kitchen table.
Yep.
To like getting their first office, and which they affectionately called the shithole, and like
that's great,
to like hiring people and like how much of a leap it was for them to actually like hire somebody.
Yeah. And
then like sourcing, he talks about like you know, it's not a matter of if your metal vendor will screw up, it's a matter of when and like
and how bad.
Yeah, and how bad. And like he talks about like they go to a show, like a big consumer electronics show.
Yeah.
And they're like just starting out, but they like somehow like lucked out and had a connection with Sennheiser.
Yeah.
And they were like, here's the time we almost ruined Sennheiser's show. Like
that's killer. That's so cool.
Yeah. So like it's an entertaining read, but it's also just it's filled with like very useful anecdotes and very like, I don't know, like it's very real. Like I feel like, so Mike Moffat is the primary author of this.
Okay.
And he is extremely upfront about the things that he did wrong and the things that he felt like he did well enough.
Yeah.
And he never like tries to give you like universal advice.
Sure.
He's never like, oh, here's your 10 secrets to success.
Sure. Yeah.
He's like, here's what worked for us because we are silly and did things this way.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yep. Yeah. It's example based because he doesn't want to speak to how someone else might be able to do it, but just give an example of how it did work for him.
Yeah. And sometimes that's really, really powerful is telling things how they were. And like, yeah, it's a really good read. It's
Cool.
relatively short too, but it's awesome.
Cool. I just added it to my cart. Because I you know what? I actually remember you have told me about this book before and I still haven't read it. So I'm going to read it.
I think one of the things I really value about Mike's perspective and Shit Audio as a company is that they are not focused on infinite growth.
Yeah.
They are focused on making the product that their customers want and that they want to make and feeding the people they care about. And that's it. And I think that is incredible and such an awesome thing to see.
Yeah. There's a great blog post by Joel Spolsky about there are two types of companies. There's like the astronomical, crazy wackadoo growth, startup trajectory kind of company. And then there's the one where you grow slow and steady and you feed it back in and you do things methodically and you do it smoothly. And it's not nearly as many bumps. And both are their own thing, but you need to know which one you are because you cannot straddle that line. And like, it's cool that they very much knew they are the latter and decided to do it and doubled down on it. And like, that's not very often, I think, that you find something like that.
Yeah, there's also some great engineering stuff in there, like about like getting the right thing done at the right time, or like working around issues that crop up. Like they had like dealing with the fact that they had like 1,000 of the wrong type of enclosure, and what they were going to do with that. And so there's a lot of really cool things in there.
That's cool. It's called Shit Happened.
Yep, Shit Happened.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. Yeah, and that is a double dip. That's a nice clean double dip too of like entrepreneurship and engineering stuff.
The subtitle is The Story of the World's Most Improbable Startup.
That's great. I love that. I think I have one double dip thing, which is Bunny Huang's blog. So Bunny Huang is one of my personal heroes. This man is so cool.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, like
he's awesome.
He's awesome. Like he really is a cool dude. So for folks that don't know, he's like an incredibly prominent open source advocate, company starter. He made the Novena laptop, which is a fully open source laptop. A lot of projects, the Chumby, which was like almost like that new Google Nest hub that has the screen on it, but like from the early aughts that he made. Like it's really interesting. And he's also incredibly transparent, communicative about how the process of developing his hardware goes and all the things that go into it. And his blog is a wealth of information. He seems like a genuine guy. There's a lot of I've never met him in person, but I'd love to one day. Really wonderful interviews with him about how he views hardware. Like his approach to things really resonates with me. And he's also a font of information about hardware production, particularly in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Really, really cool dude.
Like even if you're never going to do those sort of things, like reading his blog is so illuminating. Yeah. Like you will learn so much about how the world works and how the things that you use every day are probably made. Yeah. It's like incredible.
Yeah. He took a lot of his blog posts and put them into a book called The Hardware Hacker, which is a great read. I think I read it maybe every 18 months or so just to top off. It's great. So yeah, he's a fascinating person, cool ethos. Yeah, Bunny Huang rocks. He's super cool.
I haven't actually read that book, so I think I'm going to put that one on my list. That sounds awesome.
Cool. I got it if you want to borrow my copy. I have it at the office.
Yeah. All right. So let me throw a weird one at you.
Okay, I want it. I want the weird one, and then I'll give you a weird one.
Well, I said a weird one, not the weird one. I have lots of weird ones.
Okay, cool.
So this is going to be very funny. But one of the things, like especially media wise, that influenced me as an engineer is Gordon Ramsay.
Okay, can I take a crack at why?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gordon Ramsay doesn't take shit. And if it's not done the correct, excellent way, it's out of there. It's non-negotiable. He only accepts excellence. Is that the approach? Is that why?
Well, like that kind of, but it's less that. Okay. It's more that like Gordon Ramsay takes pride in his work.
Oh, okay, yep.
His work, the way that he approaches his work is that it is a reflection of himself. And he's not going to put anything out there that he doesn't feel reflects that, right?
Sure.
Like that is like up to his standards.
Yeah.
As an engineer, like I think about that a lot. I think about like it's, especially in software, it's easy to cook something up and just throw it out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But when I think about the things that I want to put out there and put my name on, I want that to reflect the best of what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other aspects of Gordon Ramsay that have been very influential to me. His fast and loose swearing is incredible to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I dream of one day being as fluent in
insults.
No, not insults.
Because he knows how to insult. He's got that covered.
As fluent in profanity as that man.
Sure,
okay?
Sure.
It doesn't help that he's also handsome. But people think of Gordon Ramsay, think of Kitchen Nightmares and him just yelling at people, right?
Yeah.
But like, especially if you watch the UK version, or if you watch some of his other shows where it's not quite as dramaed up.
Yeah.
He, as a teacher, is an extremely effective teacher.
Yes.
Because he never assumes that somebody can't do anything. He always assumes that people are capable of meeting his standards.
Yep.
He is always pushing people to do better, to live up to their potential. And he is always for people who should know better, he gets angry.
Yep.
For people who don't know any better, he helps them learn.
He's
and you
can
can see this when he interacts with children.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say the kids angle.
Yeah, whenever he interacts with children or people who are just learning, it's a whole different thing. And he is patient but firm and never tries to bullshit anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's always just we're going to do things the right way, and we're not going to mess around, waste time, waste energy, and just make a fool of ourselves by doing things in a dumb way. Yep. So
it's effort based. If you truly are putting in your best effort, he's not, if a kid does everything they can to try and make a dish and they failed because they had lack experience or whatever, he is nothing but considerate and kind to them. But if you're just phoning it in, he will eviscerate you.
Yeah, and if you're stealing tips from your wait staff, he will drag your bloody body down Main Street and make sure everyone knows that you are the worst kind of person.
I don't know, Thea. I think you're even par with Gordon Ramsay. That was a killer line. that was Gordon Ramsay-esque right there.
I told you that's what I aspire to.
Yeah. That's funny. That's a great one. That's a really, really good thing. So do you actually think about Gordon, when you're writing code and you're like, is this what I want to put out the door? Is it he's shaped you as a person and that has affected how your engineering is more so?
I mean, yeah, I think about Gordon Ramsay a lot for a lot of reasons, but yeah, when it's not so much when I'm writing code. I mean, obviously, yes, when I'm writing code, I'm trying to do the best that I can.
Yeah.
But it's when I put something out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Winterbloom, my synthesizer company that I had, people were always like, holy crap, your documentation's so good. Your schematics are beautiful. Your layout is even nice. And it's that was the point.
Yeah.
I didn't just want to make a product and throw it out there. I wanted to do the product and everything around it the best that I possibly could.
Yep.
Because there was no point to doing it any other way to me, right?
Exactly. There was we literally just had an interview. Someone just came through for a new production tech, and we were talking about all the QC processes we do. And one of the lines that we say pretty often is it's really silly to set all this thing up and then ship something that isn't good. It's why would we go through all this trouble to have an office and have payroll and have people and, have all the other things, all the trappings that need to happen for this whole thing and not do it well? It's so weird and silly to punt on the quality of the thing. You know what I mean? It's such a strange place to draw the line in my mind.
Yeah. Another great lesson from Gordon Ramsay is to focus on the things that you are good at. And Kitchen Nightmares is a whole fun, recurring thing where he goes to a restaurant and they have a menu that's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
And he's this is the worst case scenario. He's this is a restaurant that has no idea what they want to be.
Yeah. And
the more you have on the menu, the worse each individual item is going to be.
Should be like In-N-Out. There's 3 items on the menu. That's it.
so it's specializations for insects, whatever.
Yep.
But also when you are trying to put something out into the world, think about the things that you are good at, that you can focus at.
Yep.
Don't try to be the Cheesecake Factory.
Yep, exactly. And this is something our first investor, Joel Spolsky, says often to us is like, everyone should be working on what they're most uniquely good at. And like, it does not make sense for me to be really caught up in all the tax stuff that needs to happen for Opula to run. We have an accountant. We have HR software. Like, these are things that make it so I don't have to think about it because I'm not an accountant. I want to run Opula. I don't want to think, you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be thinking about that stuff if at all possible. It's not efficient. It doesn't work well.
Yeah. It's also like, don't fake it, right? Like, like Gordon Ramsay will eviscerate an Italian restaurant for buying in their tomato sauce, right? Like, make the tomato sauce. Yeah. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
And it's what you're here. It's what you're here for. You're an Italian restaurant, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
You know, there's lots of good nuggets that you can glean from Gordon Ramsay.
I've been sleeping on Gordon Ramsay.
Don't.
Yeah, I gotta start watching Kitchen Nightmares or something. I need some Gordon ethos.
His YouTube channel is actually really great. He shows you how to.
Channel?
Yeah. I don't know how active it is, but
who doesn't nowadays?
He like breaks down like he like covers a recipe basically, and like his one on like cooking steak is so approachable and so well done. There's just like, this is lovely.
That's great. He's one of those people where it's like you'd think he'd be an ass, but it's so lovely to hear that he's not.
No, he is an ass, just to people who deserve it.
Yeah, that's fair. He's selectively an ass.
Yeah. His scrambled eggs video is also great.
I actually had Gordon Ramsay style scrambled eggs for the first time last weekend, and they were incredible. They were so good.
I hate eggs, but I learned how to make his scrambled eggs for the benefit of all the people in my life, and they love me for that.
Yeah, they're real good. Okay, I have a weird one.
All right.
This is very specifically about running an open source hardware company.
Oh, okay.
Very specifically, this is a YouTube documentary about a video game. Well, why the face, Thea? What's your?
I think I know what you're going to say, and I hope it is.
Okay.
Is it Psychodyssey?
Nope.
What?
Nope.
Oh, what is it?
I don't even know what you just said.
Okay.
This is so.
Tell me about this.
Okay, so this is very, very important to me. I watch this maybe every 6 weeks in its entirety.
Okay.
It's so good. There's a YouTube channel called No Clip that does documentaries about video game production. And they did a series called Developing Hell, which was about Supergiant Games, which made Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, and then they were present at the offices in San Francisco when they were developing Hades, which for anyone listening, if you have not played Hades is one of the most
so good.
It's such a good game. And Hades 2 is in early access. It's also great. I don't play video games. I play these two games. Like, these games are exceptional.
I don't like roguelikes as like a general theme, but like I love Hades.
Oh, Hades it slaps so hard. It's so good. So they did a documentary series about developing Hades. And this was the first time that Supergiant did early access, where they put the game out and it's completely unfinished. It's like the first fifth of the game or whatever. And they release it. You still pay full price. And it continues to get updated and get better as time goes on. And like when the full release is out there, you've already bought the game. So you just get the game and it gets better over time. And it is unbelievable, the parallels between their process of releasing a game in early access and open hardware. Because like, it's doing the exact same thing. You are putting a thing out there in a state that is in WIP. Like, especially when we just put the source for the Lumen out and people were building it and like we weren't even selling it. People were giving us active notes all the time, and we're actively fixing it and shipping new, always better versions. And in many ways, this is always how it's going to be. We're always in quote unquote early access because we're always making it better. It's literally always under development and it will never not be. So the way that they handle triaging bug reports and like, how do you prioritize things? What chunk of work are we going to put? How do we focus fixing bugs versus new features and adding new gods to the game, adding new gameplay, tuning things, fixing bugs? It is fascinating. And the people, Amir and Greg, I think I believe that's the name of the two dudes that run the studio. They're stand-up dudes. They're focusing on the right things. They want to make a good game. Like, I just so connect with this series. And I think it's like 6 episodes on YouTube. You can just watch it for free. So good. I love this series. So yeah, that's up there for me for sure.
That sounds awesome. There's another documentary.
Yes. What is the one you thought I was going to say?
So there's Psychodyssey, which is Double Fine Games when they were making Psychonauts 2, which took a while.
Yeah.
they had a documentary crew document all of it, and it's like 30 episodes or something.
No
way. It's long.
Yeah.
But it is so raw and honest, and just such an incredible view into what it even looks like for a game like that to be made.
Yeah.
And there's some really, really like, hell yeah, this is awesome moments, and there's some, oh my god, this fucking sucks moments. They had to get rid of an employee that really sucked. And
wow, they got into it. They showed everything.
Yeah, they got into it, and then they showed really cool stuff, when they showed off their game at E3, and then Microsoft came knocking, was like, hey,
Xbox.
So
wow.
Yeah, that one's also really good. Also a lot longer though. But
yep.
I hadn't watched the Hades one. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't watched it. So I really do need to do that.
Yeah,
because I love Hades.
Let's trade links, because I also want to watch that one. I played a little bit of Psychonauts 1, but I haven't tried the second one.
Oh, the second one's so good.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, those are great. It's interesting how many parallels there are. Lucian and I will talk frequently about how it's hilarious how much is in common between how Opula runs and a farm, or a car wash. At the base, a business is a business. There's a lot of things that are very similar.
Yeah.
And a game studio is even closer to that. You're putting up this thing that you can incrementally improve and get better. And there's feedback from people, and it's all very early access and open source, have a lot of similarities that I like looking to.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to give you a choice.
Okay.
You can either choose a weird, slightly morbid, but awesome one.
Okay.
Or you can choose a weird, absurd, and funny one.
We're gonna go morbid now, because we just got out of a fun nugget. So we'll go morbid, and then we'll end on the happy note there.
Oh God. Okay.
I want the morbid.
Okay, Stephen. So
what morbid media inspired you as an engineer, Thea?
It's called Mayday Air Disasters.
What the heck? What even is that? Mayday air disaster? Is this like a show on the Discovery Channel?
I think it was on Discovery for a while.
Oh, literally, I was just joking. That's literally what it is.
It's bounced around a bit. It was made in Canada for a while. It's.
Yo, what is this? 25 seasons show
25
seasons. 2003.
25 seasons of wall to wall just awesomeness. It's so good.
Okay,
anyways,
let's unpack this.
Let's unpack this.
Yes.
This is about air accident investigations.
Okay.
It the crash or the accident, because they're not all about crashes.
Yeah.
That's 10%, right?
Okay.
The other 90% is the investigation. And and not just the investigation, but the outcomes. And it is so interesting to see how airplanes became a incredibly safe way to travel.
Sure.
Despite all of the complexity that goes into it.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are episodes that are depressing because people die, right?
Sure.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But the methodologies of the investigators, the following their methods, how they gather data, how they validate their theories,
Mm-hmm.
Their hypothesis of how things happened, how they use tools like simulation and interviewing, and even things as wild as a picture that a random tourist took the day of the accident.
Wow, really?
The way that these investigators approach an air accident is I'm sure people who have kind of followed Google's engineering practices have heard of blameless postmortems that has
Mm-hmm.
kind of spread across.
Yep.
And in a huge way, a lot of that comes from air crash investigations, because they're never trying to nail someone to the wall when they're investigating an airplane crash.
Yep.
What they're trying to do is understand what happened so that it does not happen again.
Exactly. And if you have a lot of ego tied up in it, and potentially someone getting backed against the wall, that's going to skew actually getting to the bottom of what happened and preventing it from happening again.
Exactly. And the biggest thing is how the NTSB, the investigation body in the United States for these investigations,
Mm-hmm.
how they will make these recommendations, and they don't have the power to enforce them, but in a lot of cases those changes happen very fast.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of incredible, right? Like even like, you know, we hear about the silly things like doors falling off of, you know, 737s, but like the fact that that is so rare and the mechanism behind the investigations that happen after accidents happen is just incredible. There's also like really fantastic examples of engineering and like failure analysis and also just people being good people. Like, I mean, there's always examples of people being bad people, right? But in a lot of cases, it's never that like, some person did something intentionally to bring down an airplane. Yeah. It's like in almost every case, it's a lot of like several humans did a lot of things to try to keep the airplane in the air.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes they succeed. And those are my favorite stories. Like the time that, you know, they flew a Boeing through a volcanic ash cloud and managed to land the thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, I don't know. It's really cool stuff. And it is a little morbid because, like they do a reenactment of the plane crash.
Oh my gosh. It's like,
but they also do a full reenactment of the investigation. And that's so cool.
Wow. It's like morbid aeronautical mythbusters.
Yeah.
That's wild. I've never heard of that show. That sounds kick-ass.
Yeah. Like you also understand where like procedures come from. Because it's like you learn why we have some of the rules that we have. And it's like airline rules are written in blood, in literal blood. And this show documents that. And it's awesome.
I'm sensing a trend here because like in the code colon, and then I forget the subtitle, like these are both things about how the way we do things today has developed over time and through history. And like, you getting the context of why decisions have been made to understand why Chesterton's fence was erected in the first place. Like, why do we have this thing to begin with? Interesting. That's cool.
Because if we don't learn history, we are doomed to, you know, repeat it.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. That's a good one. That's okay. I'm banging through a few of those episodes tonight. That's good.
Your friends are going to think you're so weird.
Yeah. Well, you know. That's not changing too much.
that ship sailed a long time ago for me too. Right?
Yeah, it is what it is. I've had to come to terms with it. Okay, I have two movies.
Two movies? Yes. All right, lay it on me.
One of them is I'm gonna say it and you're gonna cringe hard, but it
comes...
Thea, hold on.
No.
Don't give me no. But I actually dislike a lot of this movie. There's a couple very specific things I like from it.
Is it Power Rangers? Because that was on my list.
No, it's not Power Rangers.
Damn it.
Teamwork makes the dream work. That's the lesson from Power Rangers. No. Okay, so the cringe one is The Social Network. And I don't like, so it's, there you go. Okay, there it is. Now we got the giggles out. That movie, I've had a lot of feelings about this movie over time because I did like it as a kid. And I think a lot of what I think about it now is like it shows how aggressive growth and not keeping the balance of all the other things that come with starting a company, not considering them, can just demolish your life. Like the whole movie is about how Mark loses everything, but at the end he has the company. He literally is on his platform friending his ex-girlfriend at the end of the company, and she's never going to friend him back on the platform he created. There's nothing you can do to repair those bonds. So like, I really like it for the sake that it shows how destructive it can be being single-minded. And I like that part of it a lot. The part of it that I do like of like kind of how they develop is there's a part where he's talking with the founder of Napster, Sean Parker, I think, about how he's like, don't sell it. Run with this thing. You built this thing. Don't give it to someone else. Keep it. And that stuck with me a lot. Where it's like, I don't want to hand it off. I like running the thing. I want to see it to fruition. I want to run with it. So there's a lot of ethos there. Like, honestly, it's taught me a lot of stuff not to do.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do like is the stick with it. Don't pass it off to someone else. Grab it and keep it going. So yeah, I know that movie is contentious and I have complicated feelings about it.
So I have one before we talk about your other movie. Yeah. One of the other thing on my list that you didn't pick is actually related to this.
Okay.
And it is this TV show Silicon Valley on HBO.
Oh, Thea, I just started watching this show. I don't think I've told you. I just started watching a couple episodes. Okay, tell me what you think about it.
So here's the context for this for me.
Yes.
I started at Google in 2015.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley started in 2014.
Oh no.
And it was exactly what I needed to see before going, while going into Google, while getting started at big tech.
Okay.
And the reason is that it holds up a mirror to big tech and shows you how absurd it is.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things about Silicon Valley that is so funny is how well that they communicate the fact that normal people like look at Silicon Valley people and be like, you guys are weird.
Yeah.
You guys are so weird.
Yeah.
You talk about changing the world. And like, there's the whole bit where like Gavin Belson's like, I don't want to live in a world where someone makes the world a better place than I do.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah. That's right. I remember.
And it's just like I needed that to be able to kind of like have some sight to see through the bullshit of big tech.
Yep.
Because like there are good and bad things about big tech. There are things that I did and learned at Google that I am so proud of and so happy that I got to experience. I would not change that for the world.
Yeah.
But also I was never suffering under the illusion that my work at Google was somehow making the world a much better place. Like
Sure.
I was making the world better for some people.
Yeah. Yep.
But I wasn't like changing the course of humanity.
Sure.
I'm not the savior of humanity or even part of it. I'm writing Python code and having fun, and that's okay.
Yep.
But so many people in big tech drink the Kool-Aid, and it's useful to have something like that, like Silicon Valley, to show you, to reflect back and be like, oh, no, this is weird.
This is all a ruse, kind of. It's not reality. It's all pretty skewed. Yeah.
Because even the reality of the real Silicon Valley, the real big tech, is still a skewed reality. It is still like weird, bizarro world, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I have been keeping myself from watching it because all my friends from big tech have said that it made them so uncomfortable. And I've never worked in big tech before. I've worked at small tech startups and like medium-sized tech startups. And I recently started watching it, and it's totally manageable because I've never been in that thing. And I also have been like, yeah, this is all kind of whatever.
But you've worked with big tech companies before.
I've done work for Google. I've done work for Lyft and like all these other things. So like I have the exposure to it. So it's actually a good mix where it's like, I see it as well. And it's also a great reminder of like, oh yeah, don't, huff your farts too much because then you turn into this,
Yeah, for real. And like, it was uncomfortable. But it should be.
It should be.
Yeah,
it's an uncomfortable thing.
Because as engineers, as people who make stuff,
mm-hmm.
we need to wrestle with the impact of the things that we make and do.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely should struggle with that.
Totally.
Like I struggled a lot with my synthesizer business, thinking of like, what's going to happen to this stuff in 20 years? What like, is this going to be in a landfill? Is this going to be unrepairable? Is this going to be useless garbage in 20 years? Because I should think about that. You should think about that when you put something out there into the world.
Definitely.
What is it going to be in 20 years? What impact is it going to have?
Yeah.
Right. And is it worth it?
We had a potential customer reach out to us, and they wanted to do a huge deal for a lot of lumens with a little customization. Mm-hmm. And this was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago now. And it was a huge deal. It would have meant a serious thing for us as a company. And we didn't want to do business with them, is where I'll leave it. And we turned them down for that reason alone. And it was really hard. It was a hard decision to make. But as like, at the end of the day, Lucian and I felt really good about making that call. But like that is not huffing your own farts. That's really looking at the objectivity of like, what am I doing here? What change am I putting out into the world? And, what is this worth to me for my morals and my perspective on what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel that. Like my sisters had a friend here in Atlanta, and he ended up moving to another state. to work for a weapons manufacturer who I will leave unnamed.
Yes.
But he was specifically working on weapons that they're not defensive. Like
No.
it like explicitly just to end lives, more or less.
Yeah.
And like I told my sister, I'm like, I would just not have that friend anymore. like that's the line for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, you know, I get it if like, oh yeah, like I have another friend whose mom works in paints. Mm-hmm. And specifically for paints for aerospace use. And it's like, yes, some of that's going to end up on a missile.
Yep.
Some of that's going to end up on a spaceship. Some of that's going to end up on an airplane, right? Yep. Like,
yeah,
like there's shades of gray.
Totally.
But
it's very messy.
But sometimes a situation presents itself and you're like, no, that is objectively bad. And we should probably not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very messy. And it's in some things, it's very hard to, you know, find something that's perfectly clean. You know, like the world is so
it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. That's what I'm like saying. You have to be able to sit with the discomfort of things that aren't black or white. Yeah. They're gray. And
there might be modules of yours that do sit in a landfill. And like, okay, is that trade worth the value that you've decided to provide to the community? And like, you have to face that. I think that's really the thesis here is like, know how you feel about it.
You have to sit with it. Yeah. You have to sit with it. You really do.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Silicon Valley. Okay, now you're giving me too much media to watch, Thea. Now I want to watch Silicon Valley tonight. And I've been going through Bridgerton lately. You're disrupting my Bridgerton cruise right now.
Oh, not your Bridgerton.
I know. What the heck? My other movie is, this one's pretty close to home. It's called Print the Legend. I think it's still on Netflix.
That one's good.
It's a great movie. It showcases like the early teens production of like the desktop 3D printer industry. So it follows two companies, MakerBot and Formlabs, as they kind of dive into becoming big companies. Mm-hmm. I worked at Formlabs for 2 years. I actually watched this movie at Formlabs with some people that are in the movie. It's very weird. I worked personally with a lot of people in this movie. So, and I had watched it maybe 30 times before I'd even started at Formlabs. So that was weird, but I like this for a few reasons. It shows a lot of the difficulty and the early days of starting a hardware company and building something very similar to the Lumen. Really interesting to see how they go about doing it. And it also shows MakerBot's departure from open source and how that affected the community and their approach there, and like dealing with the Cody Wilson 3D printed gun thing, and how did MakerBot PR try and release their 3D printed hand thing to try and combat that, and like seeing this weird political game that they played, and like it's very, very interesting movie.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It's a good one.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. I watch that one yearly. Yeah, I have a schedule for a lot of these of like how frequently do I want to dive in.
I was going to say, do you have like calendar reminders? Because like I couldn't remember.
Yeah, literally some of them I do. Yeah. I literally awesome. Do. It's like, some of these are like a piece of media will be so important to me. I'm like, I need to be reminded of this occasionally. I don't want to forget how this makes me feel and like what's important.
That's why I love physical media.
Yeah.
I don't always get things on physical media, but like if something really speaks to me, I'm grabbing it on physical media.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'll toss it on my Jellyfin server, and that I'll make sure I have it. It's mine.
I love Jellyfin.
Me too.
All right. So
yes,
we're getting late in the episode. Yes. So let me hear one more thing that you want to share that you find influential.
So this is not so much a piece of media, but more of like a human being, a person.
I love people.
I do. It turns out I do too. A lot of them are really great. This one's name is Freddie Wong. And a lot of people know him from a YouTube channel called Rocket Jump, which has like almost 10 million subs. And then he did a show called Video Game High School on YouTube, which I've actually never seen. And he's got, the thing that I like about Freddie Wong is that he continues to reinvent himself and try new things and does not care about the fiscal aspect. Like he started this YouTube channel because it was fun and it was interesting to him. And when he got sick of it, he started making TV shows for Hulu. And when he got sick of that, he quit. And then he started a podcast called Dungeons and Daddies. And if anyone has not listened to this podcast before, it's incredible. I've listened to it through 15 times. It's so good. And then now he's using money from that to make his own movies, independently funded movies. They lose money making all these movies. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a rip. He just wants to see this thing exist. And the way that he and his direct business partner, Matt Arnold, approach making stuff and trying to put things into the world and not caring about being rich from it, not caring about the fiscal aspect of it. They put so much of their own money into creating a thing that they think is important. I just so look up to him as a person. He's great. So yeah, Freddie Wong and his approach to a lot of this stuff, and it's completely not related to electronics or pick and place or making or hardware or software or anything, but like him as a person, as a creative of choosing to pursue new things and like never resting on his laurels and diving into a completely new medium and demolishing it when he gets to it is like, it's so cool. It's so cool. Like I really look up to him.
I understand that being inspirational. Like I reflect on my own journey of doing a lot of reinvention in my life, and not to the degree of success as him, but like, to some success. And I'm happy that I took those leaps every time.
Yes.
Like, that is awesome.
It's very important. I have a friend, her name is Deb Danger. That's her legal name, Deb Danger. And I met her through the Kickstarter that I did. It's a long story, but she's a lawyer, and we were at this like gala together. And she was like, by the way, as she says, announced to her whole law firm at this gala, she's like, by the way, I'm retiring. She's like 60. She was like 66 at the time or something. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Deb, how are you going to like retirement? She's like, oh, I'm retiring from law school. Or from being a lawyer. I'm going to nursing school. And I'm going to start being a nurse. And it came out throughout the course of this dinner. She had been a scuba diver instructor. She had been a blah, 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 blah. And like every 15 years, she's like, screw this. I'm punting. Like she went to law school at like 50. It's like, so she's the coolest person ever. But like, it's like that. You never rest on your laurels. You're trying a new thing, decide to go to nursing school at 65, get after it.
Yeah, it's like when people find out I used to be a touring musician, and I'm like, I didn't make a lot of money, but I made some money, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna go do something else now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you gotta mix it up sometimes, and like that's cool. That's such a cool thing. You don't. Have to stick
hard
with
to do. It's so hard. It's scary. So doing that is awesome.
Yeah, but so Freddie Wong, big ups for me. He's a cool guy.
That's awesome.
Yep,
a great last choice.
Yes, I think so.
So let's do a little bit of a lightning round. I want you to just lay some stuff on me. Give me 3 things, Stephen, and I'll give you 3 things.
Okay, 3 things. These are like podcasty things. This is all entrepreneurship now from here on out.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, I know. I
won't do that to y'all. So stick around. Stick around for my 3. I promise it's going to be not
entrepreneurship based. Seth Godin, great author. He has a podcast called Startup School, which is just a thing that he did with a bunch of people in it's like a seminar he did, and that they happened to record. Really interesting. It's called Startup School. You can find it on anywhere you find a podcast. Really, really interesting listen. He's an interesting guy. They get into great stuff. So Seth Godin, Startup School, definitely recommend listening to. Gimlet Media is a podcast company. They did a podcast called Startup, which literally documents the process of him trying to start the company Gimlet Media. It's very meta.
Awesome.
The first season is what I recommend listening to. They try other stuff season 2 and onwards. It didn't really hit for me. I don't listen to their other shows. The first season of Startup is fascinating. Highly recommend.
Cool.
And then Brad Feld is an early investor of MakerBot and Formlabs, and he's a hardware investor guy. He has a great blog post called The 3 Machines, which talks about how a way he thinks about structuring a company that I really connected with and I liked quite a bit. He actually spoke at Formlabs, and I got to see him speak and took
awesome.
some of those notes there.
I don't think I've read that, so I would really like to read that one.
It's good. If you look our Google Drive, our shared Google Drives, they are labeled in that format.
Awesome.
Yeah. So awesome. That's a great one. So those are my 3. Those are my 3 there.
Cool.
What you
cool.
got?
Let me give you 3. So if you want to watch a TV show about tech, about technology and engineering and entrepreneurship a little bit, but isn't Silicon Valley, Halt and Catch Fire is incredible from start to finish. It follows a IBM clone startup in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And then it kind of like morphs every season to like something else. Oh. And it's so good. So the second season follows a early video game startup in like the era of like Commodore 64s and dial-up and stuff like that. And then like the 4th season ends with them doing like a web browser and a search engine, which is really cool.
Wow. I've never even heard of this before.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Okay.
everyone in that show is absurdly hot. It's like Severance in that way. That,
yes.
every character is nice to look at. Sure. So there's at least that. It's really good. Highly recommend. One of my favorite shows, period.
Awesome.
Another recommendation. So here's a book. So if you do any kind of programming, even if it's not game development, go read Game Programming Patterns by Robert Nystrom. Robert is just a super nice guy and super awesome, and writes really cool stuff. And his book, this is his first book, I think. Game Programming Patterns covers so many things that like the Gang of Four like programming patterns book just doesn't really cover, and it's way more practical. It's a really good read, and like honestly, doesn't matter if you make games or not, you're gonna get something amazing out of it. He also has a newer book called Crafting Interpreters that is even better. So where he talks about how he made, I think, his third programming language.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, he's awesome. Cool. And his book is awesome.
Cool.
And another book for you bookworms, Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution by Stephen Levy is a great sort of documentary on the history of computing, at least from a US centric point of view, where it talks about all of the weird dudes at MIT that made computing compute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good from a historical perspective. It is a little bit narrow in its view. It very much focuses on US. That particular crowd in that particular region, but it is really, really awesome.
That's cool. Sweet. Awesome. All right, I'm going to do a real fast 5.
A fast 5?
Yeah, because these are, well, I don't know. Oh, no, you said you have a bunch left, so we'll keep going back and forth.
Call Vin Diesel, because you got fast 5.
Boo.
Boo. Boo. Fine. Okay, that's all right. I got an LOL from Mitchell, so...
Without Lucian here, we need a couple bad puns, so you're filling the void.
Yeah. Vin Diesel's a huge nerd, so it counts.
Okay, here, I'll do 3 then.
No, you can do 5. You do 5.
Okay. Do you have
I will match your energy, I promise.
Okay, let's go. Okay. First one is The Dip, which is a book by Seth Godin. Seth Godin also did the Startup School podcast I just said. The Dip is a great book. It's a very quick read, and the ethos comes down to, is the juice worth the squeeze? I actually talked about this on the last episode. Is it you should be able to see how much of a pain in the butt it's going to be to get to the other side of something difficult and be like, is it worth it getting to the other side? And if it's not, quit, stop, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's great to quit. Quitting is awesome.
Quitting is amazing.
Quitting is fantastic. If you're like, this isn't worth it, cut your losses. Sunk cost fallacy is exactly that. It's a fallacy. Stop. Like, don't do it anymore. You don't need to read the whole book. You get the idea in the first 2 chapters. Read the whole book anyway. It's good. It's good to beat this one into your head. Second one is a book called Death by Meeting by Patrick. Well, it starts with an L.
Death by Meeting.
It's great. It's kind of a campy book. He like tells a story for the first like 3/4 of the book about some intern that can't hold his tongue and is like, your meetings suck, boss. And like walks through. It's very campy. I'm not going to mince words. It's very goofy. And so this intern kind of writes this structure for what's the point of having a meeting? There are 4 types of meetings. Here they are. This is why I think you should have them. I don't patently agree with this exact structure, but it is a good ethos, and I like the resulting structure that comes out of it. Great book. I read this maybe every 2 years. Third one is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. This is a book about like Buddhism.
That's good. It's good. Yeah.
But they get into a lot of like debugging a motorcycle and a lot of the like, what can you truly trust? If your motorcycle doesn't start, you cannot make the assumption that your battery is dead. If you put a multimeter on your battery, you can assume your battery is dead. If your voltage is less than XYZ or whatever, like you don't get to make assumptions until you've, done your binary search of the problem space and isolated certain sections of your system and identified it. It's also a great book. It's kind of hard to get through, to be totally honest. It's a little thick, not in terms of length, but just density of read. But it's a great book for that. It's also a good personal favorite book of mine.
Yeah.
That's 3. Do you really want to go all the way through these?
Do 2 more. I promise.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay. These next 2 kind of go together. Lean Startup by Eric Rees is a very common startup book. But the ethos is really great. Don't spend a lot of time building something until you've tested it in front of users. You stink at knowing what your users want. Like the best possible way is to like put something in front of them very quickly, quick and dirty, get some feedback, and then bother building the thing out. Is roughly the ethos of the thing. Don't spend all this time building it before you know. Interview your customers aggressively and see what is important to them. Ask them about who they are and what they want in general, and less about features of the thing you're building, and understand who they are when you're building it. Super important.
Cool. One more. Come on.
Okay. Last one is the mom test. This is an extension of the Lean Startup. It's pretty much, it's a great book. It's like, you can never ask your mom if the startup idea is good, because she'll say, oh, honey, yeah, it's a great idea. You should totally do it. The only really thing that matters is like, do people buy it? Like, do they put money down for the thing? And like, are they actually going to engage with it? It's yet again another book about here's how you actually test to see if people want your thing. A great way to do this is like, instead of signing up for an email newsletter, you have to put $1 down to hold your place in line for a new product that hasn't been announced yet. Actually having to make a payment of $1 is a huge jump from just putting your email address in. And it's a way higher confidence level that someone's actually going to convert to a sale later. So like, it's that kind of idea that like when we launched the Lumen, a lot of people in the comments are like, oh, I really want to buy one. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. It's a good indication, but it's not. Those people are my mom, metaphorically. Yeah. They're saying, oh, go for it, Stephen.
When we closed Winterbloom, we had people like emailing us like, oh my God, I totally wanted to buy one of your modules. I'm like, well, where were you?
Why didn't you do it? That's funny. Yeah. So those are great. Those are businessy books. Yeah. But they're all great. Wow. Definitely were, except from Zen and the Art. That one's not. But yeah, those are good ones.
Okay. So those were way too businessy and way too normcore. So
okay,
I'm going to keep it weird over here.
Please do.
So here's my fast five.
Okay.
So first up, we have Martin Curie, or Tantacruel, on YouTube.
Okay.
This is the guy that works on MuseScore and a bunch of other kind of software things. Okay. He writes these incredibly detailed essays as to why like certain software, especially user interface stuff, is just trash. But one of my favorite videos by him is when he talks about how he worked on the rework of MuseScore, which is for writing music, and how they changed that UI in sometimes significant, sometimes minor ways to make the user experience vastly different and better. It's so good.
Cool.
10 out of 10, highly recommend.
I've never heard of MuseScore before. That's awesome.
Yeah, even if you don't write music, it's a good watch.
Yeah.
Another YouTuber, Kaze Emanor, or Kaze N64, is a guy that really loves Mario 64, and he has been making his own, like, I can't really call it a ROM hack because it's so much more. He's making his own game using the Mario 64 engine, and in doing so, he has like done some really interesting engineering deep dives into the Mario 64 code and optimizing it. And like what I think is so cool is he talks about like how the N64 sometimes, like, understanding the hardware changes how you approach code, because he talks about something as simple as a sine function, right? Like, you know, sine and cosine.
Yeah.
And like how you would do that in a modern computer is entirely the wrong way to do it on the N64, because the N64 is almost always memory constrained instead of processor constrained.
Sure.
So he talks about how he changed the sine function in his code to be the worst one that you would pick for a modern PC, but is the best one for the Nintendo 64 because of the way that it works. And it's so cool to see something down to that level.
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of like Seth Bling a little bit, because he will do so much weird hacky stuff. Well, I haven't seen this YouTube channel, so I don't know if it's connected, but it reminded me of Seth Bling.
Another influential book for me was Game Feel by Steve Swink.
Okay.
He talks about what makes a game feel good.
Ooh,
and
okay.
It's just filled with really good examples, and how sometimes doing what feels good isn't necessarily what you would do from an engineering perspective, like you would want to do. And it's kind of like the rule of cool, right? Like if it's cool, it works, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're writing something, right?
Yes.
And the same thing with game feel. Like if it feels good, it's good.
Keep it.
And then like that's things like coyote timing. If you don't know what coyote timing is, that's when if you're like playing a platforming game, and you try to jump off the edge of a platform, Without coyote timing, you would have to nail that pretty precisely. But coyote timing lets you fall off the platform a little bit and still jump.
Yep. Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner Coyote.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like stuff like that, where like there's so many little things that go into making a game feel good. And these are also applicable beyond games. They're applicable to anything where a user interfaces with something incredibly valuable book.
I watched an interview with the makers of Celeste, and they talked about how they tuned like what pixel could you grab a ledge from or something along these lines. And they just, so it felt right.
Celeste is a masterclass in game feel.
Yeah.
And they released the source code to their player actor. It's insane.
Really?
It is code the way that like a software engineer would never write code. But it is code that works, and it's code that works specifically for the cases that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's such a good practical lesson.
Cool.
Another fun one is the YouTube channel Coding Secrets. And this is from John Burton of Traveler's Tales, who worked on a bunch of games for the Sega Saturn and Sega Genesis, including Sonic R and Sonic 3D Blast. And he talks about some really fun, weird stuff with retro video games. Like if you punch the Sonic 3D cartridge on the Genesis, it dumps you into a bonus stage. And a bunch of other really, really interesting and cool stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
So that's 4. Okay. Yeah. The last one is more of a math one. It's 3 Blue 1 Brown on YouTube.
Yes.
I like, as a technical, like someone who loves technical communication and trying to get better at it, his work is such an inspiration because like he is able to communicate math concepts in such a clear, concise, and visual way.
Yeah.
That is just something you just don't see much at all. And like the software that he wrote to make his animations is open source.
Yeah.
And yeah, so his channel is great. His work is great. The software that he uses to make the animations is incredible. Like, yeah, highly recommend.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my fast 5.
He's good. He's really, really good. I like his stuff a lot too. And I think he did a collab with Number File or Computer File where he like sits down and shows how he makes an animation in his fork of the because the community was like, please open source it, and then they made a fork and made a formal version of it, and he still runs his like janky at home version, not even janky, awesome. But like it's his own thing, it's his own tool. You know,
works on my machine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's sick. Okay, I have 3 left, and then I'm super out.
Okay, that's fine with me. If you want to throw some more on there at the end.
Okay. Last 3, I promise.
I promise.
I do promise. Deep Work by Cal Newport is a great book. It's pretty one-sided perspective, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. But like the idea that being an isolated, deep, hard thinking is like so much of where the needle gets moved on making progress, I very much connect with. That's my favorite kind of work. I like carving out. My Thursdays are booked off. You cannot schedule a meeting with me. Thursdays is Deep Work, individual contributor day, where I work on hard stuff. Yeah,
you got to get into your flow, into your meditative state.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that. It's the best feeling ever. So great book. Crossing the Chasm is an excellent book about introducing a new type of technology and what are the different types of markets. Who's going to easily adopt what you're working on? Who is not going to adopt it very easily? How many people are in each category? What does each group need to see before they adopt it? If you are trying to bring a new tech thing out there and introduce it to people, it's such a good book. I cannot recommend this book enough. It like rocked my world when I read it. And now I think about it all the time with how Opula operates. It's a very, very good book. And then Primal Branding is also a great book. It's about, why do McDonald's, Nike, and Apple all feel different? Why do you have an emotional connection to them? And what are the things that they do in order to instill that in you? And like building brand holistically is very much kind of how Opula spun out of like YouTube. How did that whole thing happen? How did that whole arc happen? Primal Branding is a great book that I read way after YouTube stuff. Really interesting read. Definitely recommend. But yeah, those are my last 3. I promise. And those are my business ones. I want to get them in there because they're really important, informative for like
business boy with his business books.
No, I don't. I reject that label so aggressively. The last thing I'm is business boy.
That's great. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I have homework now, which is great.
Me too. A lot of watching airplanes crash. For me, that's what I gotta watch tonight.
Man, I'm telling you, it really has changed my perspective so much.
Does it make you more or less stressed about flying?
No, less stressed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
100% less stressed.
Sure.
It also makes me feel less stressed about writing code because I'm never writing code that's running an airplane.
On an airplane,
like, cool.
yeah. That's
like,
true.
The code I write is not life or death, and I'm good.
Yeah, it's not in a pacemaker. It's gonna be fine. Yeah. Cool.
All right, folks, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us out a ton. You can learn more about Opulo at opulo.io, as well as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You can drop us an email at podcast@opulo.io with questions or comments on the episode. To keep up to date with this podcast and Opulo, you can sign up for our newsletter where we write blog posts and conduct customer interviews with other folks building really cool open source hardware. And we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Dude, you got to do that again. Nah.
It's word salad, Thea. It's word salad.
You sounded dead. Like, come on. You ran through that like you were trying to sneeze. Like, come on.
I was.
You got this, business boy. Do it. Today's episode is sponsored by Stephen, the business boy.